Hi, I'm Kelly from Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this cute ring. I've got quite an interesting weave for the band too, if you fancy giving it a go. So go and grab your stuff and let's get started. To make this ring you'll need 0.8mm wire, which is 20 gauge, and I've cut 4 lengths at 10 inches, which is 25 centimetres. 0.315mm weaving wire, which is 28 gauge. I've wound some onto a bobbin. I'll put the measurement on the screen because I'm not sure how much I'll have left when I'm done. I've wound this onto a bobbin. This is a Bobeeze bobbin by Beadsmith, but you wind the longer lengths on here and it's just easier to work with. That sits down by your side as you're working. I used one of these once and I haven't not used them since, so they are definitely worth getting hold of. If you can, they're not much. If you don't have one of these, don't worry, you can just cut shorter lengths as you go. So I've got a little pointy back stone today. I prefer working with the pointy back ones because I find they sit a little bit better in the pieces. So mine's just a little 5mm stone, doing what little stones do. So tools, I've got my pliers, round nose pliers, cutters and nylon pliers. If you don't have nylon pliers, don't worry, I just like having these handy for flattening weaves and straightening wires. All my tools are Tronex, and I'll put a list of all these in the description below. Hi, quick note, there's a sale on my Etsy shop, 40% off all the tutorials, so get yourselves on over to Etsy or my website. I'll put the links below. Okay, thank you. So I forgot to mention you're going to need a ring mandrel, and I've got quite an interesting weave for you today to do around the band. I'm going to go for quite a tiny size, so roughly I'm looking at about 4 centimetres of weave. Now it usually ends up a bit short and a bit small, so I'm going to start with 4, and I can always add a bit more because we want quite a large gap in the middle to fit the actual piece. So if you're going for something a bit bigger, you'll need quite a longer weave. So have a look. If you've got tape and a mandrel, you can have a little go, but don't take that as a set measurement because they always end up a bit too small. But we'll start with that and we can adjust as we go. I'm roughly doing a 4 centimetre weave, holding my wires centrally. I need to start 2 centimetres from the beginning of my thumb. So if I've got my thumb centrally, I need to start 10 centimetres to the left. So I've got a 4 centimetre weave kind of central on the wires. Does that make sense? So roughly work out how long you want your weave to be. Position your thumb centrally and move left half of that length. As I said, this weave is quite an interesting one. Today I'm quite excited about it. So we'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. You might hear Gracie snoring already. So we've got 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Then we go over the 3rd wire, so we're wrapping around 3. Come up between the bottom 2 wires and we wrap around the middle 2. Come up between the bottom 2 wires again. So we now go straight over the top. So we're wrapping around the top 3 wires. Come up between the top 2. We wrap 3 times around that top wire. Come up between the bottom 2. Wrap around the top 3 wires again. Come up between the bottom 2. Go around the middle 2 wires. And then we wrap around the bottom 3. Then we go 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Wrap around the bottom 3, so we go over the 3rd. Come up between the bottom 2 and wrap around the middle 2 wires. So now you can see I've started a new repeat. So we have a little V going to the top and then a little V coming to the bottom. Can you see that? I'll carry on a bit more. So we wrap around the top 3. Now try and keep the gaps even as well between the wires. So now we do 3 wraps around the top wire. Come up between the bottom 2 and we wrap around the top 3. Come up between the bottom 2 and we wrap around the middle 2 wires. Then we go around the bottom 3. So now we're on our bottom V. We do 3 wraps around the bottom wire. If this doesn't make sense, you can do any weave you want over the band. I just thought it would be nice to do something a bit different, a bit interesting. Quite an interesting little weave. Push it together as you go. I like to use nylon pliers. I like to flatten my weave too. And then do as many repeats as you need to get the length you want for your band, and then we can work it out more accurately. So I've repeated that weave. Keep pushing it together as you go. And I like to flatten mine down with pliers, so I've done that already. Quite a cute one today. So next we want to bend it around the mandrel. So make sure you've got the right side facing you and bend your weave around your mandrel. So I'm going to add more weave because my gap is a little bit too wide. You want it to be a little bit closer than that. We need a big space for the middle to fit the stone and to adjust all the wires how we want them to fit around the stone, but it needs to be a bit less than that. So I'm just going to add a few more repeats to my weave. So I added some repeats and then I had to take some off because I added too many. You just want like a smallish gap between the two. We're talking about a centimetre. So I'm going to cut the short end off. And we're going to take these top 2 wires up. So make sure you hold your weave as you're bending your wires. And I want these 2 to come down. Now this lot's in the way, so I'm going to bring them forward. So I can bring this lot forward as well, because I want these 2 to come up. So I have to hold this weave so I don't bend it. And then I want these 2 to come down. And these 2 to come down. You can see now why we need that big gap in the middle. So adjust it until you're happy and all your wires are all together going up and down. Make it a little bit easier. I'm going to part the wires at the top just so I can see what's going on. I'll do that at the bottom as well. So we're going to go around. We're looking at the 4 on this side. And we're trying not to get tied up in the other wires. So we're going around the middle 2 wires. Do you want to do that a couple of times? Then we're going to go around the top 2 wires. A couple of times. coming up between those two. And we're going to go in between the bottom two. I'm going to go around that second wire. I'm going to go around the bottom two wires twice. So now I'm going to go straight over that second wire, and I'm going to go over those top two wires twice. Then I'm going to come straight over the second wire, and I'm going to go around the bottom two wires twice. So from this point on, I'm going to leave out the two outer wires, and I am just weaving across the inner two. I'm going to pull them in like that, just weaving across those inner two wires. So I'll go over the top and I'll go around again, come over the bottom one, I'll go around again, over the top, around again, over the bottom, keep pushing it all together as you go. So I'm going to cut off my weaving wire because I'm going to do that again on the other side, but I'm going to add more repeats here in a bit when I know how far I want it to go. So I'm going to leave about 10 inches still attached there, and then I'm going to take this weaving wire, I'm going to turn it around. So now I'm working on the other side. I need to bend those two middle wires out. I'm holding them in place so I don't misshape the weave. I'm just bending them up and down out the way so I can get to this side. I'm going to do the same on this one. I've finished with 3 wraps on the top there earlier, or that might have been the start. So I'm going to start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire here. And then we're all joined in to carry on. So I'm going to go straight over the second wire and wrap around those 2 middle wires. So we're just looking at the 4 wires on the left now. We'll go around those twice. So roughly doing what we did on the other one, I'm going to go straight over the second wire, and then I'm going to go around the top 2 wires twice, straight over that second wire there, and then I'm going to go around those bottom 2 wires twice, straight over. Calling that a second wire, it's not, the inner wire of the top one. I'll go around those 2 and then come straight over the bottom inner wire. Now we need to make sure, because I'm going to stop now to weave across the middle wires, that where we've finished the wire is the same length as the other side, so it roughly is. So now we're going to leave out the outer wires. We're going to bring the inner wires in a little bit. And we're just going to weave across those inner wires. So we go around the top one, wrap again, over the bottom one, go around again, over the top one, around again, over the bottom one, around again, and I'll just do it once more. And if they meet in the middle, then we've got enough weave. Lovely. So then I'll push my weave together as much as I can. And then we take, holding that weave, so you don't want to misshape the weave, we take those inner wires back out. So they meet. And we've got 2 wires coming up the middle, that's the important bit. Then at the bottom, we've got those 2 wires coming down together. So you can see how this weave needs a little bit more adding just to those inner wires so that it meets. So I've added a few repeats, just moving my wires back. So we want 2 wires coming up the middle and 2 wires coming down at the middle. And we'll take the weaving wire and we'll attach across the 2 wires at each end. These outer wires can be pulled right back now because they're not going to be added to this part. It's just the middle wires. So we're just going to go around those middle wires. What's going on? That goes down there. Go around a few times and then finish with a few wraps around one of the wires just to tie those 2 together there. We'll do the same at the other end. Bring those 2 together, wrap around a few times, and then go around one of the wires. There's a tail end here I can cut off, a little tail end. So holding that weave, we're going to take our little stone, and if yours is a pointy back, we're going to press the pointy back into the weave. You want it pretty central, and then push the pointy back into the weave. I've got a nice little red garnet. Oh, was that not recording? So I've just cut off the wire at both ends. I thought I was going to bend the wires over. Now, I think it's best to do it with the stone in place. So this, we could lose the stone a couple of times. Stone in. We're going to take the 2 middle wires, and we're going to grip the 2 wires right next to the weave, and we're going to pull them directly over. So I've bent it straight over the front of the stone. Do you know what I mean? And then I'm going to take one wire out one way and one out the other, but they have to come across the stone. Do you know what I mean? They have to hold that stone in there. Do oversized bends for now because we're going to adjust that in a minute. Really press them against the stone, and then we'll take the opposite 2, grip those 2 wires and bend those straight down over the stone. And then we take one out one way and one out the other. So they're all over the stone. Really press them down flat. Hard to show you, but I'm going to squeeze a little bit just to really flatten them down. But then I'm going to wriggle it a bit there to pinch them in. Losing my voice. So here my weave has slid a little bit, so I need to hoist that back up. And I'm going to flatten the wires down a little bit. And then grip them together at the top. I need to level it up as well. Pull the wires apart a little bit, and as we do, we're going to keep this crossover on the side. So we're going to cross the wires over on the side as we do. Pull them out a little bit, and on this side, cross the wires a little bit. Adjust them until you've got a nice little crossover each side of the stone. So then your wires come up and down at the ends when you're happy with the shapes. Your stone's in there and you've got these little crossovers each side of it. So then these wires, what I'm going to do is I'm going to curl them around here and finish them off. Let me just measure that. Let me show you exactly how long that bit is, because the length of this is important now. We can trim it. So we're looking at about 1 centimetre. If that was straight, that'd be 1 centimetre, roughly. So we're actually going to curl around this way. And I'm going to do it before we finish those other wires so I can pop it underneath that there. That's the plan. So I'm going to curl it around this way and I'm going to pop it in there. Do you know what I mean? So it's got to go the other way. If you can hear loads of noise, that's our Gracie snoring. She waits for me to start talking on the videos and then she starts snoring. So I'm wriggling it around and I'm pushing it down so that it just hooks underneath those wires there. Whoop. So this has ended up nothing like my plan. I wasn't going to do this whatsoever. But sometimes the wires just show you what they want to be like. I like how tight that curl is. So I'm just going to adjust this one so it's as tight as that one. And then I'll do the top two. So I've tucked all my curls in. I've queued them up a little bit in places. So I'm going to buff those out. And I've looking at these outer bits where the wires cross. I've shaped those a little bit. And you can adjust them if you want them a little bit bigger or rounder. I'm just using like a nail buffer to buff out those rough bits. That'll do. And now we're going to finish off these wires. So I'm just going to bend them around the sides. That's all I'm going to do. So my wires have ended up being way too long. I'm just going to go around a couple of times. So holding them in place, I'm going to take them around. So we need to bend them around and then have a look and make sure the wires haven't moved. And do the same for the other side too. So then we're just going to bend this over. I don't like ending the wires at the back on rings because they get a bit scratchy. So I'm going to end it at the front again, then I'm going to go and find that bit of wire that's shot up. Really press it down. Press these wires down as well. Try not to mark your wires. And then this one is going to come around that side. So as long as it's all nice and flat there, I can cut that one off too. So I've adjusted mine. Don't look too closely. I think I could keep adjusting it all day. I think I'm happy with it. I'm going to buff off the little tool marks again and I'm going to oxidise and I'll bring it back and show you. And it did end up being a nice 5. So I've oxidised mine. If you'd like help oxidising yours, I've done videos on oxidising and aftercare. I think it turned out quite cute. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.